Imagine this scenario. It's 200 years ago and you're trying to dig the foundation for a big building. You hire an entire team of laborers and it takes them thousands of hours and it costs you thousands of dollars to dig that foundation. Fast forward to today and we can do that exact same thing with complex equipment like excavators for a tiny fraction of the cost and time. Now this process applies to all industries, I think. Efficiency always wins. And I'm arguing that in the tech industry, a giant revolution is on the horizon. In this video, I'm going to talk you through exactly what that revolution is and also how you can get a chunk of the pie. If you're not familiar with who I am, my name's Adam and I'm a no-code and AI enthusiast. I've also freelanced for a number of years and now run a no-code agency called APG Software Solutions, which has delivered over 60 apps for clients all over the globe. I've seen firsthand how low-code tools like Bubble and Make.com are transforming app development. And in this video, I'm going to take you through what could be the biggest shift in tech and entrepreneurship in 2025. To understand the reason for this change, let's examine the problem that the current market is facing. Traditionally, building software requires a number of things. First off, you need a development team. Now, software engineers are typically very expensive, and that's because the work they do is very difficult. Becoming a full stack developer and understanding tech stacks is quite difficult. And so you'll see it's a very complex thing to study at university, but also to become a traditional full stack software engineer can often take 5 to 10 years plus of industry experience. This means that hiring these kind of people is expensive, and so building software is expensive. In addition to that, you're looking at long timeframes typically for software development. Because you've got a team of highly skilled people, and it also requires often a team, so usually you'll have a back-end developer, front-end developer, a designer, a project manager. These kind of activities are complex. The tech stacks are large, so building a software product typically takes 6 to 12 months, even considerably longer. And the combination of these two things means the barrier to entry for creating software for most startups and small to medium enterprises is very high. Now, because of these high costs and long timeframes, the third issue is barrier to entry. Most startups and SMEs just don't have the budget or the timeframes to play with developing their own software. So you'll see that a large portion of them use traditional SaaS tools for things like their CRMs and most of their business operations. The reason these SaaS tools even exist traditionally is half to solve this problem. Now, I'm sure you can probably sniff an opportunity here, but the need for tech is constantly growing. Most of us spend almost all day between different technologies, whether that's your phone, your laptop, but also everything else in society that is all built on technology. Startups and SMEs need affordable, fast technology so they can actually develop ideas and compete in a marketplace. There's also room for entrepreneurs, marketers, and business people who have ideas and can see a gap in the market where a certain tech product could solve a problem, but they haven't got the tech skills. And so they're slaves to these expensive development agencies, and it's just not feasible for them to get involved in tech. So the real issue with this current model is there's such a small percentage of people, which are software development agencies and coders, that really control the technology that 99% of society is running on. And this isn't the first time that an industry's been faced with a shift. For example, in construction, we can see the rise of all this new complex machinery that takes what was previously really manual, dangerous, and expensive labor, and we use certain tools to really reduce the risk and cost of those operations. Another example is e-commerce. What used to be brick and mortar stores selling things, we've now seen the rise of the web, which has enabled online purchasing, and that's really shaken up an entire retail industry. Hospitality and accommodation is just another example. We've seen the rise of tools like Airbnb allow people to change what used to just be a spare bedroom into an online business model where they can actually earn revenue for spare space that you might have in your house. In my opinion, these no-code, low-code frameworks are going to do the exact same thing for technology. I think there's a serious gap in the market for any solution that's going to make software development faster, cheaper, and more accessible. Now, as a no-code agency founder, I can actually give you some real-life examples on the portions of the market that are really vulnerable to getting captured by these no-code tools. I'll give you two large chunks of the software development market that we've been building no-code tools on for the past few years, and I think you're going to see almost complete adoption of no-code solutions over the next 5 to 10 years. Now, the first scenario is startup founders. Imagine you're a startup founder and you've either got some savings or you've gathered some investors to get you some money to develop your project. Traditionally, to build out this tech project, you'd approach a traditional agency and they would usually take about 6 to 12 months plus to develop your initial MVP. And it'd also be likely north of 6 figures to build that if you're building with any reputable company. That's just to get your product to launch. Once you get it to market, you'll find that you'll get all sorts of customer feedback and you'll actually want to iterate and make pretty major changes into your app to ensure it's a product market fit. As you can imagine, this process is typically slow. It's slow to get to market, it's slow to iterate, and it's also very expensive. But with the rise of these low-code tools, the scenario changes. If you've got some time to learn the skills yourself, some of these low-code tools can actually be learnt yourself within a period of 6 to 12 months. So if you're really short on budget, you can actually equip yourself with tech skills to launch your own MVP. Otherwise, you can approach an agency and they'll typically quote you about $10,000 to $20,000 for the same level of reputable agency. They'll ship your product to market in around 4 to 8 weeks. So what we're looking at is really cost and time savings of about 80%. Now, not only that, but once you've shipped to market, you can iterate and make changes rapidly and quickly. We've all heard the stats that 90% of businesses fail, and a large portion of those are because they actually aren't a market fit. So whilst you can hypothesize that your product is going to solve a market problem, you never really know until you have actual real users validating your idea. Instead of taking 12 months and hundreds of thousands of dollars to validate that idea and get your product to market, we can now validate that exact same idea in a fifth of the time and a fifth of the costs, really boosting your startup's chances of surviving. Now, as an agency, we've already done this exact thing for a number of startup accelerators, both here in Australia and abroad. There's currently a lot of myths around what can and can't be done. As with any revolution, there's still a lot of people that either don't know about low code or they're nervous and unsure because it's new and unknown. But I've personally seen a lot of growth in the last few years, and I know based on key metrics that all these low code platforms are really seeing exponential growth in both their user base and also the number of apps being built. So in my opinion, for startup founders, it makes a lot of sense to use low code solutions to build your MVP. And I think we're going to see serious growth here in the next 5 years. Now, a lot of people will probably criticize this prediction, but I honestly think most startup founders are limited by budget and they're limited by time frame. And the main thing they want to do is actually just test their idea and see if it solves a market problem. And no code allows you to do that so much quicker and so much cheaper than your traditional tech solutions. In my opinion, 80 to 90% of startups will be validating their ideas with no code in just as short as 5 years. Scenario 2 is the small to medium enterprise manager. Now, when I say small to medium enterprise, I usually mean between really 2 and 50 employees. Now, we have a whole process automation side to our agency, so we deal with a lot of these small to medium enterprises. And what we do is we automate their existing tech stack, which typically involves a number of SaaS tools like CRMs, lead gen tools, accounting softwares, and all sorts of other things. We connect those together. Now, the reason those tools even exist is because to build your own accounting software, to build your own CRM, to build your own lead gen tools and all that kind of stuff is software development. And typically it's extremely expensive. It just doesn't make sense for every company to build their own tool like that. But as a small to medium enterprise, and let's think about if you have 50 employees, you're paying per user per month fees to all of these SaaS companies. So when you're at the small end of the spectrum between 2 and let's say 10 employees, this can be relatively cheap, but as you scale, these numbers will seriously start to add up. We work with companies with 50 plus employees that are spending $15,000 plus on these SaaS tools per month. And the worst bit is that these tools are designed to be mass adopted by companies all through the market. Now, this is good in some reasons in that they accommodate for 80 to 90% of your business needs, but the issue is they're never really going to be niche down to your business because every business operates slightly differently, and these tools are designed to be adopted by everybody. I'm sure you can imagine where no-code solutions could fit in here. To start with, we can build them their own internal software that's completely customized and unique to their business. So it's not an 80% or a 90% rough fit, it's a perfect fit to your business and it's completely customizable. It grows as you grow, and as your features and business requirements change, so does your software. You can imagine this needs to happen quickly because businesses don't have 6 to 12 months to wait for certain features to get added. They need them to be added in weeks, not years. So that's where no code really steps in. The other benefit is you can scrap your per user per month models. Those models are really great when you've got 1, 2, 3 users, but when you have 50, you're typically paying very expensive fees to use these tools, and it's quite difficult to move off them. For what's typically 1, 2, 3 months of your subscription costs, you could build your entire custom software and then pay peanuts or a slight portion of that in monthly maintenance and server costs. Now, in terms of how much of the soft development for startup founders and SMEs accumulates to, it would be in the billions. Now, some people might think that this is pretty radical, but I think as low code only gets better and cheaper, it's really going to take most of the software development industry away from every company that has 1 to 50 employees, so startups and small to medium enterprises, because as tech gets more accessible, these companies will stop going to these expensive SaaS platforms. They'll stop building tech traditionally, which is extremely expensive. They'll build most of their stuff on low code, no code frameworks. And then when they hit that enterprise grade, they can always move to a traditional solution then. Now, this leads me into talking about the challenges, the future outlook, and why no code or low code isn't mass adopted in the market right now. Now, in my opinion, there's three major roadblocks preventing this. One is scalability, two is performance, three is enterprise adoption. And to be honest, they're all linked. Now, when we talk about scalability and performance, the main question marks about this really stem from the fact that often you're limited by the frameworks of these no-code solutions. These tools can often reduce the complexity for things like hosting, but in doing that, they also reduce the amount of control you have over them. And so large enterprise applications that want to have complete control over their apps, host them on their own servers, etc., can sometimes find limitations in these areas. There's also still concerns from these enterprise clients around things like compliance, data storage, efficiency, and all those kind of things. And obviously, if you've got that kind of budget, you're going to build things traditionally. But no-code's already making steps to increase its enterprise adoption, and it's only a matter of time before they start to iron these things out and really make no-code frameworks almost equally as scalable as traditional tech development. Now, in tech development, there's a million ways to solve a problem. I think you can actually build scalable applications on a hybrid mix of Bubble and maybe some other backend or something like that currently, but I think it's only a matter of time before these no-code, low-code tools have actual real case examples which are just as scalable as traditionally built solutions. And I know for a fact that tools like Bubble know that enterprise adoption is the real thing that's holding them back from mass market adoption. So they're really pouring money and energy into figuring out how they can improve the scalability of their systems, give you more control, and increase their enterprise adoption, because that's going to lead to mass market adoption. Some major companies have already jumped on board and built portions of their business processes on no-code tools. Large companies like Ubisoft, Paramount, and Seagate already built applications on Bubble that solve small niche problems within their businesses. But why is this relevant to you, and how can you take advantage of it? I think the whole point of this shift is not about technology, but it's about opportunity. It's going to empower entrepreneurs, business managers, marketers to actually get involved in an industry which typically had really high barriers to entry. I think those are about to get smashed down, and all different kinds of people from all walks of life are going to be able to get involved in tech development. No-code and low-code frameworks are going to enable you to become technical and learn how to build tech products in a fifth of the time that it used to take to be a full-stack traditional developer. And from a business standpoint, it's going to allow startups and businesses to go from idea to product in a matter of weeks and not months or years. If you're still watching at this point in the video, I think I've snagged your interest, and this could be your call to learn how to freelance, run an agency, or build your next product idea on a low-code framework. If you want to ride this no-code AI wave in 2025, I think you're in the right spot to get the knowledge and the skills to do that. On my channel, I'll be uploading everything from how my agency operates to skills and tips and tricks on how to learn no-code and AI skills that are going to help you level up your freelancing career, your agency, or your business. Remember, revolutions happen when barriers come down. Low-code and no-code is going to tear down the barriers of software development in 2025, and there's no better time to learn those skills and position yourself to take advantage of that.